Good day, John. John, did you happen to see Elvis, his comments after the game the other night?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I think he probably speaks for many, but he was pretty open about how difficult this stretch is. As a coach, as the coaching staff, how do you guys try to keep it loose and not entirely gloomy right now for the players, for everyone as you're going through this? Or do you want to do that, or should they endure what this is just as kind of a teaching lesson of not wanting to go through it again? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. But, yeah, um, we are trying to keep it loose. We're trying to have decent days. I look at it both ways. We're not trying to grind them. It's not doom and gloom with tape work. Um, I mean, we played a good hockey game the other night.
Yeah.
We've played a good hockey the past 2 out of 3. We've played a couple of really good hockey games. We just can't score. So we're trying to keep it loose, trying to keep it with some energy, but they also have to understand, and as I've said, live in it too, and hope you never get back to this situation. So I think it's important to learn what this life is about when we're in it like this. But we're not going to sit there and grind them in it either.
You haven't been through this very often in your career, but it's happened a few times where you're playing out the string. Does it ever get any easier, or does it just get more difficult?
Uh, it's never. No one wants to be irrelevant, and that's what we are at this time of year. You watch all the other stuff, all the preparation, the talk about what the series, and no one wants to be in this situation.
Yeah.
This is a bad one. This has been a bad year. I don't think anything's really worked out throughout it for quite a long time. But you can't look backwards. You got to look forward. You got to try to learn from some of the things that happened. I think as a coach, as a player, as an organization, as a manager, all the way through, I think everybody has to look at what happened here and learn from it. Not whine about what went on and think about it all the time back then, but try to learn from it and try to be better for it. That's the greatest lessons you can take out of it.
And as tough as this season is, just with the limitations on you guys, how you can live your lives away from the rink and from game days, is it even worse now? Does it even feel? Is it even more frustrating now that there's really nothing to play for? I mean, you were doing this for a reason before, and now
Yeah,
even that reason's gone.
yeah. That can't be. Everybody has to live through the protocols, the limitations. Everybody's had to do that this year. That is certainly not an excuse for this club here. I don't even look at it that way. It's a miserable time because we're not going to be playing in a couple of weeks. We're just playing out the string, and it's a even twofold because we ended up trading players at the deadline, and then we had 3 or 4 guys go down that were going to be part of the team, although they'd be living through it with us here, going through this, but we lose them also. So it's kind of a major turnover within our lineup, and we haven't won any games. I mean, it can't get any worse if you're not at least putting a couple of wins in the situations to feel good about yourself. So that grinds you, and that's why we're trying to keep it as loose as we possibly can when we do have our practice days. But you can't forget about the feeling. I don't want them to forget about the feeling that they have right now, and that they're going to have here for a couple more weeks.
And not having witnessed practice today, can you just describe what practice was today, what you wanted to get out of it mood wise?
Yeah, we just touched upon a couple of things within our concept, but then played a couple of games. So we have really tried to incorporate in small ice games into our practice, and it brings in some fun, but it also it's not the it's not the drills. It's a game, and I think you get more out of the players. Quite honestly, even if you're going into the playoffs, I think they get more competitive in those small games, and it helps puck skills. I think we need help practice and in making plays and puck skills in tight areas and all that. It's been a struggle of ours all year long, so it incorporates that. But they're also having fun, and I want the players to try to enjoy some of the time that's left here. So we're trying to act accordingly there. And my shift in mindset has gone that way, because they don't deserve to be grinded. As much as the year that we've had has been a very bad year, I'm not going to double it up and grind them through this year.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Just Svoboda. Go ahead, Doug.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Torts. Something I wanted to ask you about, I've heard you say this a lot over the years, is just how important it is for you to develop guys into being good pros, and that term kind of good pro. Mm-hmm. You've got so many young guys right now you're probably trying to bring along in that regard, but what does that mean to you? Why is that
not
so
just
important?
Young guys, not just young guys.
Well, true, but
we have business with a lot of people that way. Look at our team. Look at how we've played. So don't ever just go to young guys. There are a number of people that aren't young that need development in that also. I didn't mean to interrupt, Jeff, but I want to make that point.
No, that is fair, but just you've coached for a long time. Just why is that so important to you? What is? I think it's somewhat obvious, but I just want to kind of have some words on it from your perspective, because
that is the foundation of an organization, as far as I'm concerned. The intangibles, the things you do outside the rink, how you come to the locker room, how you act in the locker room, those are so important before you even go on the ice. That locker room has to, we have spent so much time in that locker room the past 6 years before the on-ice product is shown. And I think it goes in that order. You can look at skilled guys. You can look at all the things that look nice on the ice. If you don't have a foundation of having a solid locker room, you are going to go through what we've gone this year. Our locker room has not been good this year. And that it's under my watch. It's my responsibility. And it's a big frustration of mine that I have not been able to corral that room, and the integration of new players that happened here. Some of the that went on at the beginning of the year, as far as a player wanting to leave and all that stuff. We've done it now the past 2 or 3 years. We've had a lot of things go on in that room, but we've been able to tamp it and get it back together. Through my leadership, my responsibility, I have not been able to do that this year. And I think that's a big reason why you don't get an on-ice product. It's huge for me in that order.
Yeah. And you've got 7 games left. You can only make so many more steps in that regard. But just, is that what you're focusing on now in some ways?
Yeah, you're trying. But right now, with 7 games left, it's a very, you're just trying to hold water here. That's all you're trying to do, because it's a very difficult situation now. Not so much, I guess that's what you differentiate young guys. I think the young guys that come in this situation, a lot easier to coach because they're full of energy. They want to show. I've been in the business long enough. When you get a veteran guy and you're trying to teach and push upon some of the values in this type of situation, it's a little bit more difficult with some veteran guys that have been in that room when it has been solid. And remember, some of these guys that are in that room from the prior years have watched their buddies go, have watched their buddies traded, have watched a number of their buddies be injured that aren't with them. So it's a little bit different there. With younger guys, it's different. So I'm very cognizant of the time to do some of this. We're way beyond the time allotment to try to get that room straightened out right now. It's way beyond that, and it did not happen in the right way.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Brian Hedger. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, John. Just wondering about expectation, like the timetable of expectations for young players in this league now. Has that changed? Has that been sped up in the last 5 to 10 years? And if so, like how has your job as an evaluator changed, now as compared to maybe what it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's a younger league. I have some thoughts on that. I think they come in. Hedge, to me, it's an individual thing. I don't think you can go, okay, this is how long the process is going to take for that player to become, as Jeff was talking about, a really good pro. That's different for each and every player. I think the athlete has changed, and it may change, in another few years to a different type of athlete. I think we have with the athlete, and well, I'll just answer your question. I don't want to get into that. I just think it's a different timetable for each individual as a player. They're coming in very young. They're coming in playing a lot faster, a lot bigger, and a lot faster. I think they have people around them that help them prepare to get here. I think there's a little bit of disconnect of when they get into a locker room, what a coach and a manager wants versus what the entourage wants around them outside the rink. I think there's a little bit of disconnect there, how the process is going to work there. I'll put it to you in this way. I think it's sometimes you got to wait your turn. I like saying it that way, where players get a little impatient. They want everything right now. I think you need to wait your turn to go through the process correctly. That's where there's a disconnect.
Do you feel like the number of young players who have come into the league and had success like right away has put any maybe added pressure on guys that come in and maybe it doesn't happen for them right away? You know what I'm saying? As far as 10 years ago, I always go back to that. A GM might say, well, he's young, he's still got to develop, that kind of thing. Has the timetable been sped up for young guys to make an impact, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think if young guys feel the pressure because some other young guys have made it happen right away, I think those are questions you need to ask them. And this is a constant conversation Jarmo and I always have disagreements on in how long it takes for a player to become what we feel is a really good pro and ready to be a National Hockey League. We had many conversations about Oliver Bjorkstrand in that when we were going through a number of years with Oliver and the situations that he was put in. And so it depends who you talk to, quite honestly. And Jarmo and I have had some really good conversations about this because I've learned from him, and I hope he's learned from me in how a coach feels about this versus how a manager feels about it, because there's always going to be a little bit of difference. And it's been a pretty cool running conversation over the years about this. So it's totally individual as far as I'm concerned, as far as how you develop a player, how long it will take that player to develop. And you got to be careful. If you skip some steps along the way, I think that hurts the player because then he kind of knee jerks around as he starts to become a National Hockey League, or is he really? Does he go back to the minors? I think you got to be really careful in those situations.
Yeah, and it feels like there's always a danger potentially too of giving up on a guy too quick, right?
Absolutely. They're for me, especially defensemen. I think you got to be really careful on how you judge a player and make it. And I'm guilty of it. You make these quick assessments on them, and because you're trying to get your team together, you got to be really careful and not jumping the gun, because you never know when the maturity kicks in. Again, especially when they're so young coming in here. So you got to be really careful there. And I think that's where it comes. And I've been fortunate enough to have the conversations with Jarmo. We've talked about this, and he gives me his thoughts. So I think we've been trying to do it the right way for each and every player.